what happens in the game, if you understand that, is the game goes to a stalemate. Like you can roll around and it gets down to two people and they own all the houses. They know that they don't want to upgrade to hotels. So the game could go on forever. You actually end up just putting a time cap on the game and going to cash, Matt. You value all of your net worth in houses, properties, and cash, and that decides the winner. I don't know. It's an interesting game because it teaches you that people game, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, every system.
Of course, then you have the side deals going on, right? The collusion between
right. Collusion, bad acting.
Yeah, between siblings, between siblings that liked each other versus, I had 4, so right, they join up against each other, and it would be fun for sure.
All right, man. Let's talk baseball. I figured we'd talk a little baseball a month into the season.
Yeah.
And the
30 games in, 20% done, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so you can extrapolate here a little bit. And early on, Matt,
my Tigers are sucking ass.
Your Tigers, the worst by far in the league. Well, not by far, but all right, yeah, by far the worst. 9 wins, 9-22, a 2.9 win percentage. The interesting thing for me though was on the top end. The Athletics got the best record by far. But they're not even over 600, right?
Right.
5-9, 19-13.
Yeah,
Most of the rest of the league is almost dead near 500.
Right.
So there's incredible amount of parity.
So there's still hope. There's still hope for my Tigers then.
That's actually what I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, the league is so shitty right now that there's actually hope for the Tigers.
Yeah.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
And the Cubbies, Sox 16-13. They're looking good. But again, look at that. I mean, they're damn near 500.
Let's see the National League.
I got to share, Matt, because I got lazy.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me share the screen and we'll go to it. Of course. There we go. National League, Matt. National League. When was the last time the Phillies were good?
Well, they're 500, but
they're 500. But
let's look at the West here. Let's look at the West. Wow, the Giants.
National League East is fucking terrible. Toss up. The West, Giants, Padres. I mean, they're all within a game right there. I mean, talk about parity.
Yeah, how about the Dodgers? Only 17-15. They were like 14-5. They must have lost like 10 in a row there. Wow.
Last 10, they're 2-8, Matt.
Yeah, there you go.
Bingo. Anyway, a lot of baseball left to be played, but
the Padres are good, dude. They're fun.
Matt, I'm on the beach. Right? And there's this little kid, and he's got to be 40 yards away from the edge of the beach where the bluff goes up in the trees, right? Kid can't be more than 6 years old, and he's got a little wiffle ball bat, right? And he throws it up, and fucking this swing is like the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And he fucking hits the wiffle ball. Not only does he clear the beach, it lands about 25 feet up in a tree. It was like the shot, a dead shot. I have my fishing rod, right? I put a big weight on it. I spent about 20 minutes trying to cast and get his wiffle ball down.
Hey, mister, can you help me?
It was so great. So I said to the mom, I go, I got to tell you, this kid, you get this kid in Little League right away. That's a beautiful swing. And maybe someday he'll play for the Giants. And she said, "No, we're more of a San Diego Padre family."
Oh, there you go.
And he was a lefty too.
I actually I like their new style of unis too. The Padres, they're
all right, man. Let's enough of the pleasantries. Let's talk some price activity. And first, you shared this inside the somewhere
hey, Bob,
one of our channels.
Hey Bob, unshare your screen, please.
Oh yeah, unshare.
Thank you.
Lumber, Matt, and this was policy uncertainty causes sundry shortages. Policy usually gets in the way of markets being efficient. I was driving back from the coast, Matt, and I have never seen as many logging trucks loaded as I did. Every lumber mill that we passed had help wanted signs out. The queue into getting into one had to be 15 to 20 semis loaded with logs. So in the Pacific Northwest anyway, in Central Valley, Oregon, they are pumping up production giant, it appears, but still, is it runaway demand? Is it the fact that they had to get through some hurdles, or I don't know what's going on, but the supply certainly hasn't connected with demand yet. And if you want to share the screen,
sure,
let's talk lumber.
It's been interesting because, I went over to the valley. I didn't go to the coast like you, but I went over to the valley over last weekend. And, we had that huge fire in the Santiam Pass last year, right? And so they were cutting down the leftovers that hadn't been knocked down already, and they closed the road. We had to stop for a half an hour. It's a disaster zone still, and we're 10 months out from that fire. So it was really sad to see all the Mackenzie and the Blue River homes on those rivers that run alongside there as you drive to Eugene. They're just gone. I mean, there's fireplaces, maybe there's burnt out, there's a few cars. I'm sure they got rid of most of this stuff, but a lot of property for sale. You can buy land because people don't want, maybe they didn't have insurance or who knows what happened, but there's a lot of for sale signs along the way, and a lot of lumber, that they had piled up, and some of that stuff will be used for, it's still good for, making 2x4s and whatever else they're doing. So there's tons of it just loaded along, the 126 as you go over to Eugene. This chart is just, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's blowing off for sure, but I don't know. Is it going to go to 2,500? I have no idea. I wouldn't short it until it breaks. And when it breaks, it's going to be not fun. And whatever it is that breaks it, I can't tell you what that's going to be. But one thing is momentum is definitely waning again. If you look at RSI and you look at volume and you look at, kind of the price ranges are tightening. But today we're up 2.5%. So you get these weird days where it just doesn't do anything, and then all of a sudden they gap it up again. So to your point, I don't know where we've talked a little bit about the policies and, bringing in lumber from Norway and, the Scandinavian countries, which is nuts when we, the part of the reason why you have forest fires is because you don't prune and you don't get rid of the wood that you should. And
you don't manage it. And yeah. I still don't know why we don't have the cat in the hat machine that can go in there and just, because here we're suffering through smoke, right?
Right.
Because they're burning, they're doing prescribed burns and they're burning piles and stuff. And
yep. And yesterday
it's a complicated fucking issue for sure.
Yesterday, yesterday we're 82 degrees here in Central Oregon, but it was totally hazy. Like you said, it was like a fire season again. It was like, oh, this sucks.
All right, Matt. Yeah, lumber. You know what this chart looks like to me, and especially in commodities, when it turns, and I don't know what the open interest is because the price is fairly immaterial without the metric of the open interest involved with it, right?
Yeah.
And so how many longs, because when it starts to revert, you could get limit moves, the ...
Exactly.
Where people get trapped, they get stuck.
That's the thing. You almost have to be in, but it's hard to be in, like I said, because where are you going to sell it? I mean, it could go to any high as possible right now. But I will bring up a stock, and we've talked about it within marketvitals.io, Bob, and that's Louisiana Pacific, right? And this is a lumber company, and these guys, pull lumber all over the U.S. and they cut it and they sell it, and probably half those mills that you were driving by are selling to LPX. But look at this stock. I mean, again, recent high 74, off a little bit 68. But this is like, I just want to show you kind of a long-term view because I don't think we've ever seen these prices. So this is going back to 1973. This was 94, the spike up to 48, Bob. So I point this out because this is a glaring short ultimately. When the economy, let's just say when the economy downturns, which we haven't had in 13, 14 years, whatever it is now. But when it does, this thing is going to go right back to $8. And, the market cap right now very heavily, capitalized. Like these companies to cut down, the equipment that you need to cut down trees and do what they do is insane. I mean, some of the machines I saw just on the description I was telling you along the road were like, those are vicious looking, they got the things that pick up, they got all kinds of stuff that I'm like, wow, that's cool machinery, but that stuff's expensive. So when the demand and the slack is removed, Bob, watch out below, right? I mean, but these
it's amazing to me too when I look at that chart, Matt. I want you to bring up this one, FLBHD. It's a stock.
FLBHD, Focus Lumber. Okay, never heard of it.
And it's out of Malaysia. But it's just starting this peak. Why were these guys so late to the party? And
well, I can tell you a little bit about it because my family was in the hardwood lumber business. So you get a lot of like the mahoganies and the really expensive jelly tongs, these really hard but malleable woods that are great for flooring and cupboards and things for the high end person. So I'm not familiar with this company, but it's $1. What is it trading at $1 or something, Bob? So
$1.15, and it's been as high as $3 in the last couple of years, I think.
Well, I was looking at the monthly. Yeah, it's been as high as $3. Yeah, again, so that would be my guess. They're probably selling, a lot of these crazy hardwoods that are hard to find, and they grow in Malaysia mostly. So I mean, because I know the lumber company I used to work for, we used to sell that stuff. They used to sell it. I was just working in the lumber yard, but
anyway, Matt, it's peaked. It's I don't trade stocks very often, but this one kind of piqued my interest. Like, I don't know why it's so late to the party when everybody else has already fucking moonshotted.
Right.
The other one was Lumber Liquidators.
What's the symbol on that?
That is LL. And again, this one too, like compared to the chart that you just showed.
Yeah, but it's retail again, and you're competing. These guys are, they sell flooring and things like that mainly. It's not like, so you're not going to get your deck wood or your
sticks and
your framing. It's
right.
not. This is a retail play. So, and it's been as high, at 35. But it's interesting, and I just want to transition a little bit if we can here, because I think we're starting to see some things, and in the retail side, and let me bring this up, and it's kind of related, but Redfin. All right. Redfin is a brokerage, and they've had this crazy run. Like this stock was almost last March, it was literally dead. I mean, it was down here at $10, right? So we had a 10X in Redfin, a brokerage, which is again,
and this is real estate brokerage.
Yes, mostly mostly residential. So what is this chart telling us, Bob? I mean, I posted this.
It's telling us it's over.
This is what I'm saying. Like, if you want to sell your house, you better get it on the market now and get it done, because this is telling me that there's danger in the future when it comes to real estate across the USA, because these guys have a footprint everywhere. They're in all the major markets. But if this thing, it got crushed today. So I'm assuming, it had earnings. So the earnings weren't good, and it was already bad. I mean, it was already off 40%, Bob. So this is basically a half off sale from the high already. And that high was put in just in February. So as we come into the real estate busy season, the spring and the summer, this does not foretell strong sales for me. And again, I'd be surprised if just because you got demand, you got weird demand, right? You got people moving from big cities to the suburbs, like where we live, and people are leaving the cities, and there's not a lot of supply when they move to these places, and there's building costs are through the roof because of lumber, that we just talked about. So I think people are just going to go, wise people will just go, I'm going to pause. I'm going to wait. Doesn't make sense for me to pay these ridiculous real estate prices today when they're going to be at least, this is telling me they're going to be half off soon. And I think this will trade back to the 40s, possibly 30s, and point of control is still back at 18 on the longer term charts. You start looking at the dailies, Bob, and this is not pretty. This is and again, it went parabolic. It's just like everybody started chasing, and There's no reason. There's no rhyme or reason. It's still a $6 billion market cap here. It's boggling numbers.
All right, Matt, let's move on to a little more commodity talk. Hogs coming off from their highs. The little piggy not quite through the roof. But, we talked about this over the, man, I got to tell you, our information has been freaking rock solid, right? We talked about the corn and the beans and all those things. We talked about orange juice when the polar vortex dropped down. We talked about the hogs going over cattle, how it's never, well, it might have happened, but I can't find when it happened.
Right.
And they did. June hogs traded over June cattle. I told you that the June was stratospheric over the July. There was almost $3 over, 240, 230 over. And I said that, why? It's really hard to pick that peak in the summer pricing. And so I made some money on that one, selling June, buying July. July was as much as 50 cents over June in the recent trade day. I want to just share one because there's a couple more coming, that are on my radar that are just on the fucking stratosphere, like blowout. Like, give me a break. This first one is August OCK, this calendar spread, August OCK. For the, I don't know, half a decade that I sat in that hog pit, this is the most dangerous spread. More people lost fortunes in Augie OCK because it was supposed to do something. And summer markets, right? Summer markets get thin, and all of a sudden you're scratching your head and you have a six-figure margin call. But anyway, this thing would, for years and years and years, it would ping around $5 and $6, $6, $7. Over the past year, with hog prices higher, it's almost, doubled that. It's been between $8 and $12, right? But now it's at $18. It looks like it wants to go to 20. And believe me, at some point, if August is 20 over OCK, that is so ridiculous in my mind that you got to start paying attention to it, and sell that last summer month, August, and buy the fall month OCK. I don't know. It's a game, just like trading. Calendar spreads are supposed to be less dangerous, right? But in my experience, I have seen more people carried out from a calendar spread gone wrong. And here's the analogy, Matt. It's less dangerous, so I can put more of them on, right? So
I make it more dangerous.
It's a spread. How can I'll get them out? Put 100 on. Hey, okay. Good luck with that. Anyway, as a trader, these are the things that I'm looking at. The other one that I'm looking at is not only was June on the moon over July, but now July is seemingly on the moon over August. I will probably get into this first, sell July, buy August, if this thing can show some weakness. And it's starting to on the daily. The weekly still quietly isn't there. But on the daily, we put in this little top above this a little bit of, but it looks like we're not going to hold this momentum level around 450. If I can get a close out of up momentum on the daily, I will nibble. The risk is pretty defined. I'm making a new high, and that's how I'll play the calendar.
All right,
man, let's talk.
I like it.
Let's talk hogs through the roof. Geopod. Man, we're going to talk a little.
Hey, while we're talking about animals, what about that Derby? I did not win my 5 horses that I threw out there. None of them won.
Dude, so, the Derby, I got to tell you, I didn't see it either. As I was driving to the coast, we had got there, and then I just fucking lost track of time for 3 days, which was beautiful. But then I watched it just about 2 hours ago.
Okay.
I got to tell you, I cannot remember a horse race where I think there were 4 or 5 horses within a length at the hold all tickets. We're going to the photo. At the photo, unbelievable. And the 7, 8, 9 trifecta paid $1,600 for a $2 bet. I think it's 9, 7, 8. Matt, you know why 6 was afraid of 7?
Because 7, 8, 9.
There you go. And I don't know when it came in last in a Derby, 3 in a row. But just like I said, dude, 20 horses in a race. If you watch them come out of the gate, and the 1 through 4 horses just have a fucking disaster out of the gate. And anything can happen. And when there's a stampede like that.
Well,
Unreal.
and again, yeah, it was a great race. Speaking of stampedes and what's going, and since we were talking about hogs, what's going on in China? We've seen some more articles lately about the killing of all these, thousands and hundreds of thousands of pigs. I mean, have you followed
Well, they're
that?
still dealing with the African swine fever, and it's brutal, man. It's like a 98% killer if it gets into your herd. Their biosecurity, we talk about the age of irony all the time, and they were saying they want to get rid of backyard pig operations. How about this? They estimated that there was 200 million pigs, more than half of our country, being grown, raised, and slaughtered in backyards, 4 and 5 at a time.
Right.
But they wanted to wean that out so they could have more biosecure facilities, right? And then I saw they were going to build an 8-story hog production facility, like 8 stories of hogs. I don't know if that's, 36,000 hogs under one roof. Like, how can that be biosecure? What if your security is lax? I don't know.
Yeah, one hog gets sick and they're all gone, right?
And they're all done.
I mean, it's crazy.
It's a crazy mixed up world, Matt. So crazy. And I talk about geopolitics here. You shared this. Russia is prepared to disconnect from the SWIFT payment system, says the foreign ministry. I don't know if you know. I know you know, but I mean, I think the SWIFT system by far is the biggest hammer in the U.S. arsenal in geopolitics. Like you can have cruise missiles, you can have aircraft carriers, you can have drones that can take out, your hideaway in the remote village. But if you can control the money,
if you can't move money, you can't buy any of those things.
Exactly. And so this has been going on for decades. Our people, other powers are like, hey, fuck you. Why do you get to hold all the fucking purse strings?
Yeah.
And,
Well, and I think Turkey or Pakistan also, I think, was moving away from SWIFT the last week or two. I want to say there was another pretty major, sizable population country that was also saying bye-bye. And then, to transition, what's interesting is Gensler is having a meeting today, and on his meeting sheet, he was talking about, he wanted to talk, I think they were talking Ripple again, and they were talking, which a lot of people are, speculating that XRP is going to take over SWIFT, right? That's kind of the play for that crypto. And then Doge, I guess he was going to talk about, I don't know, that meeting's happening today. I'm not sure if it was morning or 1 o'clock. It might be starting here at 1 o'clock. But, so he wanted to talk about those things primarily, which is interesting because he's not really talking about Bitcoin again or Ethereum or the big dogs. But I guess the big dogs now do include XRP and Doge. I mean, those are in the top 5, I think, when you look at all.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Doge thing is talk about ambiguity. It started as a meme, but it for sure is a blockchain, and I don't know the details about it, but at a $68 billion market cap, what is it? I mean, it's something insane.
It's 80. What is it? 80.
Oh my God. I mean, talk about
77 billion. It's number 5.
Well, again, that's an ambiguous figure because you couldn't sell all the Doge coins out there for a fiat currency and come up with 77 billion.
Well, you got $1 trillion market cap for Bitcoin, half a trillion for Ethereum, and then it goes Binance Coin, XRP, and Doge are both 3% of the whole market at 2.4 trillion, which is crazy to me. I mean, these two that we've kind of made fun of, and look at Litecoin. It's moved all the way down here to 10. And wow. It used to be like 1, 2, Litecoin was 3, right? Wasn't it? Those were all.
Yeah. So back to this thread though, like if you also, you put together a joke of a car and you're like, here's my car. And you're like, it fucking doesn't even run. It doesn't even, but people are basically, they've given them a runway of development dollars. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe it doesn't go away because they have a runway of development dollars, and any meme part of the blockchain that they developed can be developed away, right? It's like, Ford couldn't compete with Ferrari until they could, because they put the money towards it. They had the money to put towards it. So I'm not,
Right.
we can say it's a pet rock and it's a joke, but it's a pet rock with a lot of money behind it now. And if
but we've got, again, a couple things. We got this meeting today with the SEC. We'll see what comes from that. And then we have Saturday, more importantly, I think for Doge specifically, Elon and all the woke SNL cast are, who are pissing and moaning that Elon is coming on. But will he not talk about Doge, and will they bring it into?
So did they actually are some of the SNL cast not going to perform because he's on?
I think they were talking about it. Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah. Especially
over your fucking self already.
Well, especially since you won the lottery yourself and are acting on SNL doing skits. Give me a break.
He should just buy the rights. He should just buy ABC and fire Lorne Michaels, and let's get
NBC.
SNL back.
NBC.
NBC. Is it NBC? Yeah, NBC.
NBC. I don't know who owns NBC.
Lorne Michaels, and let's get SNL back where nobody is safe and it's not a politicized meme show. Matt, the other thing I think in crypto is we talked about them launching micro Bitcoin futures. And right now, today, the micro Bitcoin contract is over 14,000 traded, which is a drop in the bucket compared to other traded futures contracts. But it's not nothing, Matt. It's not nothing. And for the Merc, it's a giant. If this thing can start doing 200,000 a day, 500,000 a day, it is such a giant moneymaker for them. Matt, I think I did the math right now. It's $5 ticks, right? It's 50 cents a tick. So, and it's from what I saw, it's $2.50 a side. So $5 a wrong turn to the Merc, right? So you have to buy, you have to have a $50 profit before you even break even, which isn't bad if there's $1,000 range, right?
Right.
So it's relative. If you go down to $50 ranges, nobody will trade this because you can't cover your cost.
Right.
And for me, though, the part of the equation is the rest of the ease of interacting with the market, i.e. the tax man. Futures that got the greatest tax benefit going.
Right.
The ease of getting in and out, the margin is clear. The counterparty risk is clear. There's so many things that are advantageous to trade futures over any cash product. It's the way to go. It's not even the wave of the future, Matt. Yeah. It was the wave of the future in the 1970s. Let's talk Bitcoin, though. I really haven't looked at the chart much. I got back last night. Let's bring it up.
Okay, bring it up. You want to look at yours first?
Why wouldn't I? Hold on a second here. All right. See, I like charting, and for me it is just dead flatted here. I know this is the daily, and this is the weekly up momentum areas right around 58,000. I talked about it all last week, and it just can't make its mind around it. It keeps that looks to be a ceiling right now, and
and it could be also kind of a right shoulder, which is interesting because you're seeing, again, I'm not a pattern trader, but I'm seeing the head and shoulders a lot now on a lot. Like today we were talking about a lot of these software names, from Fastly to Snow to CRISPR, like all these softwares are just getting throttled. And this is, and they have similar chart patterns before they got cut in half. So again, I'm going to throw it out there. When this thing gets cut in half, and it will, you better have an exit plan, because just because it's been quiet for 3 months doesn't mean it's the calm before the storm. Most likely, whether it's 100,000 or 25,000, I can't tell you.
Yeah, I'm kind of seeing the same thing, and we're the nuance for me on this chart is
drink.
What's that?
Drink.
For sure, the nuance on this chart is those lower bands haven't kicked down yet. So if you're a bull, you are holding on to that we can hold these levels. We can recapture up momentum. It really needs to take out 60,000. I know that's 59 to 60,000 has to show up on the high end of the profile just by looking at this. But if we can't, and like we put in another shitty week, we close near the
well, in the higher
red
band
candle, we're going to get reactive on these lower lines, right? And then Katie bar the door, because the potentiality to the downside, and there's no nuance, Drink, about that. Once those bands start kicking lower, the potentiality is much greater to the downside.
And you've got two of those, the two upper bands are rolling. The one,
These are rolling
solid,
down. These haven't started to react yet.
Right.
But I've watched them long enough. If this is a 5-minute chart, I'm looking for that, right? I'm looking for those lower bands to change their slope.
Sure.
And then it's game on to the downside.
Katie bar the door.
Katie bar that door, mofo. All right, man, what else? Is that it?
Yeah, I'll bring it up real quick, just since we haven't talked about it in a while. And I got, just a quick look here at this. And again, I, spending a lot of time, we in a wide range. It's basically a $5,000 range, 53, 58 is where we've been the last 2 weeks. But again, when I pull back a little bit, I'm just seeing kind of, as you, showed, we've been in this bracket since, March. And it's, we fell out of it once, we came back into it, but we can't really get above it. So it's, unless it can
What is the high end of that value range there?
That's 61,000. So,
okay.
Unless it can get moving there, it just feels heavy again to me. And again, with all the news, the meetings, everything that's coming on, a lot of them, the equity market, I think, is holding on for the jobs report tomorrow. We all know they're great. We know they're going to be great numbers, because of all the other precursor jobs, right? So we're recovering it. But, it's interesting. You talk to people that, I talked to a couple business owners at my son's lacrosse game the other day. One's a software business with 300 employees. Another one, is more retail. They can't, the couple on the service side doing restaurants and whatnot, they can't find employees right now. Because the employees are happy taking the handouts versus working, because they're making more than they would if they worked. The wages aren't as high as they need to, so basically they're looking out for themselves and saying, if the government wants to give me whatever, $1,200 a month, a week, or whatever they do, I don't know, then I'll stay and I'll stay on it. And I think, they've extended these benefits, how long? I think out to the fall, at least right now. So
that's going to be a fun summer. Let's just face that.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting for sure.
I kind of think that everybody is expecting great numbers, and I think it's harder and harder for this market to price in forward expectations. And any Ethereum misses are going to get fucking pummeled.
Ethereum made another new high today, by the way. I don't know, we haven't talked about that, but that traded over 3,600 after, dipping down. It fell 10% after it made the last high, 10%, right? 3,500 to 3,200. And then now it's back to testing. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this is the end of this run. But this thing, again, it's been going crazy, Bob. Any thoughts on that?
And well, my thought is that, as I said before, it's just a much better story than Bitcoin if you're going to hold crypto. And that's the equation. Like, all right, I'm into crypto, but is there a better story than Bitcoin?
Yeah,
pointed it out on the chart over the past several weeks, numerous times, that the Ether Bitcoin cross, which, by the way, those levels are available at marketvitals.io on the cross sheet. It's been a better story. You made way more money. I mean, Bitcoin, it's not near its new high yet.
Right. And that chart has been telling us that the whole time, Bob. And as you said, you've been spot on with, marking that and, suggesting to people, if you want to be in, the alt space, buy the Ethereum. I mean, and really you would have caught that blow off, and it went from 20, basically 21.
The cross.
It almost doubled in less than a month, in less than 2 weeks.
Yes, I mean, exactly. Crazy. It was trading 0.015. It's 0.036. It's doubled. You've done twice as good holding Ether.
Yep.
That's the nuance. Drink. Motherfucker.
The other thing that I want to throw out there that we kind of talked about, a theme, and again, I'm seeing this theme is, the retail stocks. We talked about Redfin, but let's talk about some of the the names from the gig economy, from Etsy, which just had its earnings horrible, but it was already telling us it was going to be horrible, right?
I think the earnings were good. The earnings beat, but the future growth fell off the table.
Again, because people are going to go back to their jobs eventually. They're not going to sell.
Reality is coming back, whether the government wants it to or not.
They're not going to sell potholders forever, right? Crocheted potholders. You can't keep, you can't pay the bills with crocheted and pet rocks forever. I just don't think you can. But then Fiverr's another one that had earnings again, and there she is.
We got Rita visiting the set. I got to tell you, she is the happiest beach dog there ever has been born to the face of the earth. She ran around the beach like it was heaven on earth.
And it was.
Queued up, ready to leave, where the house is probably 60 feet above the beach on a bluff. And we're like, hey, where's Rita? She was running around excited, and then and Lynn goes, she probably went to the beach, and we all turn and look.
She was coming back,
circling this couple on the beach. Like, are you guys here to play with me?
Because I'm ready.
Good times. All right, Pete, get out of here.
The other one I wanted to talk about a little bit, just because it's everybody, it's interesting watching some of this stuff break down and nobody talks about it, right? The press is the same, whether it's markets or anything else. And that ARK, the ETF, again, she's out there banging the drum, how great, back in February when it was 160. By the way, this is a 60% haircut now in that ETF. So, and that's happened, Bob, again, 60% off sale in less than 2 months. Today is March 6th.
When I look at that, it looks like it wants to go to zero.
Exactly. Well, and again, where is she talking about all the, Tesla and all the battery companies that she's long? When this thing, and this is a daily chart, Bob, you're right. It's right at the precipice right here. Basically it's to say 100 goes. If 100 goes, it's going to go test 100. I can tell you that. They love the even numbers. It'll probably bounce the first time off that, maybe get a rally up to 120 or something like that. If you get that, that's where you want to put it back on, in my opinion.
The short.
Yes.
And what is the how wide is that value range?
Let's see. Let's call it 100 to 160, Bob. So 60 points.
So it's going to $40.
It will, yeah, which makes sense. It's the next big area. And
come on, Crystal. Am I clear? Crystal.
And the thing is, this thing, look where it was last April. I mean, it was down here at $58, and it was just kind of chopping around. And again, all these momentum stocks that this fund has chased, they're done. The momentum's gone. The momentum left this market like 2 or 3. It ended in February. Price is yet to catch up. But that's how it works. It takes time, but it is evolving very quickly here. And that's why and that's why I just wanted to point this out, because this is starting to, you're starting to see it everywhere, and it's really seeping in. I mean, you even look at Shopify, right? You look at the online thing. This thing had great earnings again just a few weeks ago, and it's back into the bracket. It broke out, ran to 1,500, which is, kind of where it should have run to, and it stopped. And then it had a little rally on the earnings to 1,300, but it's off 30% already from that. So you're starting to see, more and more of these. Twilio's another one, just starting to roll over. And again, I think you can jump on a lot of these and make some good downside money, buying puts, selling the stock, however you want to do it. But I'm just pointing them out because I think there's Roku's another one we've talked about for months. That thing peaked right at the same time. Again, this almost the same day. This is like February 12th. So it's interesting when you look back, like you can see the market changed. That was like the blow off right there. So 487, this is down to 280 now. So again, $200, Bob. That's again a 40% sell off already. And we're not even to value on the daily chart, which is going to take us back to 140 or so. It'll happen. It's a freaking stick that you stick in your, TV, and I
gotta tell you, I thought it cured cancer when it was on that moonshot.
But and then the other one I'll point. There's two more I want to point out. To me, Chipotle looks a little heavy. It ran up again, the second time it tested that high and it got to about almost 1,600. I think it was like 1,590, and it's back to 1,400. So that's off 10%. And looking, and again, not a very pretty chart for the, like, if you don't want to be long here. Let's just say that if you don't want to short, that's your deal, but you don't want to be long. And then Costco to me is really lining up beautifully for a double top. And it's not going to, I don't think it'll get, and it's up again. But, you know, you talk about days that you want to sell. Well, today's one, it's up $9. It's up 2.75% again, earnings. So earnings are done. It's over. You know, this to me, you know, again, just seems like $170 billion market cap for Costco, huge run. Again, you know, just, I don't know. I think you got to watch this, you know, just to see, you know, as a kind of a precursor again for the retail, you know, for the man on the streets, for Joe Retail.
All right, Matt.
All right, Bobby.
Always a pleasure. Great to be back at the con. Please visit us at marketvitals.io. Join the community. Have access to the Market Vitals commodity sheet and the crypto sheet with actionable trading levels. And join a community where we encourage questioning of everything, especially risk and reward. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Bob. Glad you made it back, and glad you had a good one back in time.